Hello, welcome to the Elevation Edit. I am Felicia Bagsby, your host, and I am here today with Raquel Davis. Raquel, please introduce yourself.
Hey, I am Dr. Raquel Guidry Davis. I am a licensed clinical social worker, a therapist, and also a professor of social work.
I love it. So with those accolades, we can talk about it. That's an amazing thing. I know most people don't realize it, but this month is Men Mental Health Awareness. And a lot of times we take that for granted, that breezes right over us, but it's a serious topic.
Definitely.
And it's a topic that's been looked over, especially for our culture. I think a lot of black men in general, but a lot of black men don't have the grace that they need to be vulnerable in that space. Can you talk about that a little bit?
For me, it's mental health awareness year-round because it's kind of what I do. And I would say you are absolutely correct. You used a good word in terms of vulnerability. And so in the African American community specifically, men are just stigmatized, I would say, specifically for seeking therapy. Women as well, until probably maybe the past 10 or 15 years, it became trendy, I would say, for African American women to start seeking therapy. So now there's lots of black women who are seeking therapy, but men, it's still very, very small, and it's because it's stigmatized. Men feel like they are weak if they are specifically going to therapy, and so they don't come.
Let me ask you this, with that being the stigma that's behind mental health with men, we can see that trauma in our relationships.
Absolutely.
We can see that trauma in our marriage, in our dating, in whatever facet of our lives with our spouses or our partners, because it is layers of unhealed issues. How do we fix that? How do we even address that when, to me, the black man never really was privy that? He didn't have the luxury of feeling vulnerable. In my opinion, he just did not. He didn't have the luxury of feeling broken, because when you come home to us, we're just as broken. We're just as upset. So how do we fix that? How do we change that? Because it's clear that we all need mental help and make sure that it's a sounding board and we have someone to talk to. But what can we do to help in that situation?
I would say the first thing is learning how to create a safe space. And so many black men talk about not feeling like they have a safe space. So even the home, the wife, the girlfriend, whoever the partner is, does not create a safe space for the man to feel vulnerable. And so men don't feel like they can always come home without being treated like they are weak. Black men are taught that you don't show emotion, you don't cry, they have to be strong. All of those things, I would say probably times 10 that white men are taught they have to do, black men are taught to a much greater degree. And so they feel weak when they are wanting to seek therapy or needing to seek therapy. So all those emotions, whatever they're dealing with, gets repressed, pushed down. And so you think about pushing down, and after a point, it just kind of explodes. And then that's what we see in our families, in our relationships, in communication patterns. It comes out there.
That's interesting, because how do we address it then? Because black women are often listed as the angry black woman. Do you believe that label sometimes is misunderstanding of stress, burnout, emotional exhaustion, and untreated mental health challenges that we too have to take home to that black man that is also struggling? Because the white woman doesn't have our woes either. White women don't have our woes. Yes, we can share genetics. We share that genetic makeup. We do. But we cry different. They're all tears, but it's different. So how can we help them when we're always perceived at work and we have to be that, have to wear that androgynous outfit and have to have that androgynous role when we go home, and then you want to be submissive to that husband, but you're like, damn, you know what I mean? I just had to wear all of this on my shoulder, but yet I have to stroke you. How can we deal with that? How can we do it successfully as husband and wife in our culture?
So that's a very layered question.
Okay.
That's like an onion. You just got to keep peeling
Let's
it
talk
back.
about it. Let's peel about 3 layers off. Let's talk about it.
There's racialized trauma. There is generational trauma. And they all get compounded within Black families. And it's interesting you talk about the angry Black woman, because as a part of my dissertation, I actually studied and researched the strong Black woman. And so underneath the umbrella of strong Black woman is the angry Black woman. And so in terms of misinterpreting what that looks like, that happens very, very frequently. And so we, just like Black men, are taught, are trained to carry the weight and to be strong. But all the research shows that being strong all the time actually is not a good thing. So it sounds good to say I'm strong. And everybody wants to say they're strong. But that's actually what we call in research a mask. It's just wearing a mask of strength, because underneath there's more anxiety, there's more depression, there's more isolation, there's more health conditions, there's more stress, all of those things. And so everybody in the African American community is walking around trying to be strong all the time, and then they crumble. And so as a people, males and females in African American community don't seek help until the very end. And so when we feel like we are about to snap, that's when we say, I need help. And so a large part of that problem is, number one, getting rid of the stigma. It is okay to get therapy, right? It is okay to say, I need help. A lot of the work I do really starts with giving people permission. Just saying the words, it's okay to cry. It's okay to ask for help. And even though that sounds really simple, many people go through their entire life and are never given that permission. Nobody else gives them that permission. We don't give ourselves that permission. And so we walk around just heavy, just stressed, just irritable, always on a level 9. So it don't take much to get us to a 10. And so everybody is snapped. Look at you.
Let's talk about it. Look, I started rocking.
Everybody is on edge all the time. And so that results in very poor communication patterns, very poor conflict resolution patterns. Nobody has any bandwidth to be open for other people. And so there are no safe spaces in many households, in many relationships, to really talk about things. And then we're not taught how to communicate well.
Right.
And so a lot of it starts at a very basic level.
Because that's generational. The communication is generational as well.
Absolutely.
Because there were broken homes. What you see is what you do.
Right. And then the other piece, I mean, like I said, there's so many layers to it. So like people talk about all the single parent homes, which are most often raised by single women, and single women are doing all the work.
Let's talk about it.
They're being strong. But you have to peel that back to figure out, why are the Black men absent? Oftentimes it's not because they don't want to be there, right? There are historical and systemic things in place that have separated the Black family. And it just kind of trickles down generation after generation after generation. And that's what we're seeing right now. And so if you are not raised in an environment where you see good communication, where you see how to be steady with somebody, you know, where you see what that looks like, you don't know how to do it. And so it's like the blind leading the blind. You have a man who wants to lead but doesn't know how to do it. You have a woman who may want to submit but doesn't know how to do it. And so it starts at a very basic foundational level of, number one, acknowledging and accepting that's the reality. Once you acknowledge and accept that's your reality, then you can start getting the help that you need to rebuild. But most people, they don't start there. They can't accept that that is my reality.
So what would you say to the woman, and I'll speak for me personally. I recently, the last 10, 15 years, maybe 10, 15 years, started really honing in on my own therapy and my own self-help. But for me, I don't want this to come off the wrong way, but I have to be real on this platform. I found it difficult to talk to someone that didn't look like me.
Right.
Because you don't know my woes.
Right.
You don't know, we don't relate in that way. I'm sitting here telling you my husband hypothetically lost his job. You know, thank God, okay, he did, but my husband lost his job, and you just told me you came back from
Paris.
Do you hear me? Let's talk about it. Or your kids are in private school. We don't relate. So for me, it was hard finding that safe space.
Right.
And although this is Men's Mental Health Month, I want us to be able to talk to all of the culture because we need it. Our generation right now, the generation right now, is falling because they have nothing but social media to look to. So what do we do when we can't? And I know it's layers to this too. We've talked. So what do we do though when you feel like me? You know, you want to talk to someone, you want to find that therapist, you've gotten referred, but you just don't feel safe there. You don't feel safe with one culture because it's a disconnect, and then you're afraid with the other culture that your business is going to be told. It's two. You know, I don't want to go to the black therapist because she know Lisa, and Lisa may find out that something's wrong with me. I don't want to go to this one because she's talking about going to get a spa and we just got our water turned on. So how do we handle that?
In smaller towns, it's more challenging because everybody knows somebody.
Let's talk about
that
it.
knows somebody.
Let's talk about it.
I guess what I would say to that though is that there are lots of really good black therapists out there. Social media, I would say, has been good and bad.
Okay.
Especially during COVID, everybody became an online therapist. Everybody had a podcast. Everybody started putting their messaging out there. And unfortunately, visibility, branding, and just the look and being popular, lots of people have large followings, and they're not always the best people to seek advice from. And so you have to do your research, number one, I would say. And there's several websites people can go to find good therapists. And then the telehealth also has become very popular.
It sure
and
has.
so lots of people, if they're concerned about seeing somebody local, other people getting in their business, lots of people now do therapy with someone within the state, but not in the city. I mean, I have a large portion of my clientele that is actually not in the city of Mobile because they're calling from everywhere within the state of Alabama.
Okay.
And so, and lots of people use that. You just have to do your research. There are lots of good therapists out there. You have got to do your research, figure out, you know, who people are. And then lots of therapists will also do an initial complimentary consultation. So you can talk to somebody for about 15 or 20 minutes, figure out who they are, see if you have a good vibe, because one of the biggest things is making sure you connect and feel comfortable with your therapist.
Yes.
If you don't feel comfortable, it's not going to work.
It's not going to work.
Every therapist isn't for everybody. Everybody has a style. You know, some people are more real, kind of in your face, which is me. If that don't work for you and you kind of, you know, want somebody that's soft, I'm not the therapist for you. And so you need to meet your therapist. You need to have a conversation, figure out if somebody is a good fit for you.
Okay.
And if not, you keep looking. But what happens is people get frustrated. They might talk to a couple of people, it doesn't work, or they have one bad experience with a therapist, they don't want to try again. We just have to be persistent. There are good therapists out there.
I will say you hit on something that was very important. My friend circle here was talking, you and I have talked about our demographics and talked about the city. It's nothing bad about the city, it's just small. There's still a lot of antiquated thinking here. And
I'm not from here, so
I know. So I feel as though it makes it more challenging though, because like you said, a small city is a small city. And if you have an inkling of a following, that can be a scary place to be vulnerable.
right.
That can be a scary place. As for me, I hold a lot. I hold a lot in. I deal with a lot. I have what you called it the last time. What was it? The mask? I have about 7 of them. Literally.
They're all pretty though.
Thank you. But I have 7. Like literally, there's not a moment that I think I changed them as whatever it's called for. But there are times I feel most vulnerable either with my husband or with Sabrina, if I had to be totally honest, because I don't have to put on a facade. I can say this is vile.
Right.
This is not going right. I feel like this, that, and thus. What do we do? But they're not therapists. But what I love is they give that. But there's times that my husband may be the thing I need to talk about. Sabrina may be the thing that needs to be talked about. Or I may be that. What do we do? What can you say to our community? Because although you're not from here, we see a lot. We see a lot in this city with just the youth. We see a lot in the city with us as women. we don't know where to go. We don't know. And I'll be honest, I had a wonderful therapist. You know, she moved back to Wisconsin, but she was amazing. Not anger issues, but she was wonderful. She was amazing, right? And some of the things were kind of quirky because she was not an African American. But, you know, you don't show someone jumping on the sofa and then say, what do? You knock them down.
Right.
You know, you don't say get down and do gentle parenting. That's not how we were taught. So for the young parents that just don't know, for the young generation, the girls today are, in my opinion, they're not lost, but they're looking for something. And it's still households today that don't talk about mental health.
Absolutely.
So what do we do for here? How can we break that stigma for here, for our Black men, for our Black women that are young adults, that they know they have a safe space, or instead of relying on weed or relying on sex or relying on whatever it is they want to rely, or shopping. I'll even put myself in there. What do they and we do when those situations are there and we just feel like we're at our breaking point?
Well, this right here, talking about it, this is where it starts.
So I'm getting my therapy now with you. Okay, let's talk about it.
No, but I'm saying being bold about it. You
Okay.
know, putting it out there is something that is okay to do.
Okay.
There are not many spaces where people are just bold about therapy is okay.
Right.
We have more spaces that say don't do it, or it's bad, or, you know, there's a stigma or the shame associated with it. So I think it really starts with just opening up the dialogue, right? And the more people who are having the dialogue and saying it is okay, the more people you get to follow suit and take advantage of that. Now, I will say though, I understand why people want a therapist that looks like them for connection. But I just have to also say I'm not biased in that regard.
Good.
There are
Okay.
several non-Black therapists who are well trained, and if
Yes.
you are a well trained therapist of any color, you can still provide good services. And so you may not be able to connect directly with specific things, or you may not have had that exact experience, but I wouldn't say only limit your services to looking for somebody who looks like you, even though I understand the desire to do that. When you need help, you need help.
You
And
need
if
help, right.
If you can't find anybody that looks like you, you still have to start somewhere. And
So what do you tell that person then? Is because you're right. My first therapist was not, she didn't look like us. She was amazing. Like I said, some of the tests were not
right
for me, but she was amazing, you know, and I felt light when I left. I felt like I had went on a shopping spree, and that feels great.
Right.
But that's how I felt. But what do we do then? How do you tell that 19-year-old or that 22-year-old that's fighting with their mom, looking for a place, have baby issues, boy issues? What do we tell them? Don't have any insurance, don't have any, where do they go? What do they do? And that young man that is pressured with his homeboy, that's pressured with, you know, his mom or baby mama drama, and he's really breaking. But you're talking to someone that's already broken.
right
Who your counselor is someone already broken. But if he had that safe space, he could be the best man for that girl.
absolutely
And if she had that safe space, she could be the woman that he wants. What do we tell them? How do we find that here?
Well, I think you have to explore all options.
Okay.
And I'm a proponent of all options, right? And
Okay.
so I think that there's oftentimes good therapists within the church. If your church has a specific counseling services within their church, and there's lots of churches that do, the issue then becomes, like you said, if they're young, they don't have insurance, where do you go?
Yes.
Because there are not lots of free services out there.
That's right.
Okay, and so if you're not specifically able to pay for services, that's when the challenges come up. But there's also lots of therapists who do services on a sliding scale. People don't call to ask, do you have a sliding scale?
Okay.
Right? There's also therapists who do pro bono services. You know, you only have so many slots that you can fill, but I specifically look at therapy as a ministry. And so
Absolutely.
everything is not always about how much you're going to get paid for it. But that's why people have to ask.
You have to ask.
You know, people do not ask. They just shrink back and listen to what other people say. When you need help, you have to be proactive and seek it out. And so there's therapists who provide services at different rates. Then there's many churches who have counseling ministries through their church. And then the mentoring piece also is very, very big for me. There's lots of organizations and groups who provide mentoring services. Of course, you have to check the quality of the services that you're getting. But I think the biggest thing is to ask. It is to get out of the mindset that I have to carry this all by myself.
Yes.
What happens is people think I have to carry this all by myself, and that's the path they go on. And that initial mindset of understanding you don't have to carry everything by yourself, that's where it starts at. And so at the very beginning of the story, not when you get to the end and you're ready to snap, you have to be able to say, I don't have to carry this, and ask for the help.
And that was hard. And I'm speaking from a personal aspect. That was even hard for me because once again, I'm taking off one of the masks. I always perceive myself as a strong person. There's one put down.
Right.
But I did not know who to go to. And then when I did think I could go to someone, I didn't feel, here's the vulnerable one. I didn't feel vulnerable enough to talk to you. Here's the third one, I didn't have a safe space. I did not feel like it was safe enough to tell you, I'm falling apart. I'm holding this all for 7 different people. I have nothing else to pour out. I have nothing else to pour out. And I feel like our community does that. One, because of the stigma of, you know that old saying, keeping up with the Joneses? A lot of times I got to do this and I got to do that to keep up with this person. A lot of it is, but it's outside of our means. So I think a lot of our stress comes from living outside of our means, doing things that are not related to, oh, you want to talk about it? Let's talk about it. Okay, I know when you're cue to talk about it. Let's talk about it. Oh, I hit a nerve. Let's talk about it. Stop me there and talk about it.
All I can say is I agree. You know, and I see it, I think, more in our younger population, but definitely there's no age limit to it. And so keeping up with the Joneses, living outside of your means, and just the mess and drama that comes along with social media. And people talk to everybody about everything. And so you made the comment earlier that, you know, you talk to this person about this, you talk to your husband about this. People make the mistake of, you put your business out there in the street and then you're mad, you know, when it gets out there. And I was raised very differently. My mama told me when I was a very young girl, going into junior high school, you do not need a whole bunch of female friends.
Do you hear me?
And I got 2. And I've only always had 2. And I trust those 2 people. They were vetted.
Absolutely.
And outside of that, I am very guarded.
Absolutely.
And everybody ain't in my business.
That's me.
But what happens is we do things differently now. People, you know, our younger culture, they like date in groups. I ain't never heard of that. They like date in groups, right? So you got the friend groups, you got the dating group. Everybody know everybody. Everybody got everybody else's boyfriends and girlfriends.
A big melting pot of just junk.
Drama.
Drama.
Anyway, but you were talking about living outside your means and keeping up with the Joneses.
Yes.
But so much of that contributes to the stress.
It's
like it contributes to everything.
They don't know how to let it go properly. So they do all of this other.
Poor coping. But
what is it?
Poor coping.
This is great therapy. Okay.
It's just poor coping though. All of those those things become an outlet.
Okay.
They're part of the mask.
They
become an outlet for dealing with all the other things. And so whether it's the shopping, whether it's the partying, whether it's the drinking, whether it's keeping up with the Joneses, whether it's all the friends and all the friends' business, whether it's all the mess, whether it's all the drama. And the guys are guilty of it too. I mean, we started talking about guys, now we're on women, but the guys are guilty of it too. It all comes together as one big messy melting pot. And then social media, I mean, of course, that's the age that we are in now, but I said a long time ago, social media was the devil.
Yes.
Because once you get in, you cannot get out. And all the statistics show that rates of anxiety, depression, and suicidality are directly related to how much time people spend on social media.
Well, Malcolm X said that too, though. He did.
He did? Okay.
Malcolm said that also. He did.
So, right. But, I mean, the statistics are there. And so I'm a researcher. I research this stuff. You know, in addition to teaching it, I research it. And so it's just so clear that social media, the amount of time people spend on Instagram, on TikTok, and all those other platforms
It's
I don't even know
draining.
anymore. It's draining, but it is the insecurity that comes along with that, because you're constantly comparing yourself to the next person, to the next person, to the next person, how many likes you get, how many likes they got, and nobody sees what's happening underneath that. And what it results in is higher levels of
This is
depression
good.
and higher levels of suicidality,
good,
men and women.
This is good, Rock. Let me ask you something. So for me, in business, okay, we know the healthcare part doesn't require any type of social media, anything, right? But everything else that I do requires me to be on. I'm the content creator. I'm the editor. Outside of the people behind me, ACAM, Peanut, and the other crew behind us, I am all of those things, which requires a lot of my time.
Right.
I'm never
And visibility.
Nauseating. Invisibility. What do you say to that? This is a micro mini coach. This is a micro mini session right here.
Okay.
What do you say to me to help me find that balance? Because if I'm not present, if I'm not working, something's not happening. And in my industry, whether it's the podcast, whether it's the hair, whether it's the sweets, whatever it is, or whether it's the boutique, I have to be visible. Even if not me, the work. What do you say to Felicia?
Well, there comes a time when you have to establish very good boundaries. And what happens is people don't establish good boundaries.
Okay.
And so you put yourself out there, but then you have challenges when it's time to bring yourself back. And so that really, and I have so many clients right now, it's like they are just overloaded with the pressure of everything they have to do. And our work starts with establishing the boundary and sticking to it.
You sound like Sabrina. She tells me that all the time.
Okay. Well, we right. Establish the boundary. You have to stick to it, and you have to have somebody that's going to keep you accountable, right? So when you are off, you are off. You can only do so much. Also, though, what comes with feeling like we have to be strong all the time is not delegating enough.
Let me ask you this. I can do that in healthcare. In healthcare, when I'm off, that's it. It's done. What are we doing? Why are we calling? They know. Why can't I disengage from all of the other? That is my problem. And like I said, this is a mini Felicia session, but I want to know, why can't there is nothing that I cannot handle in the healthcare part, as far as cutting it off, the boundaries, the professionalism, everything. The professionalism is with all the other businesses, everything is there, but the cutoff is draining. I don't know if it's because I'm always on demand, or it's not even the demand, because everybody is self-sufficient entrepreneurs that are under our scope. I think it's the social media. It's the social media time. It's too much.
For you.
It's too much. I want to take that phone and throw it in the Forest River.
And what prevents you from doing that?
My healthcare is tied to it. I have 3 lines. People don't know about one. But my healthcare is tied through it. Whether I'm getting from the team here, if I'm getting, calls from here, or the business or something. So I need time. I feel suffocated, but I can't stop either. I'm not a person that, this is what we're not gonna do right there. So talk about it. I saw all of that. So let's tell me, what do I do? What do I do?
I don't have the answer. I don't have the answer.
Okay, well, you don't have the answer, but how can you help? Where can I find the balance?
It's hard to say, because in order to find the answer to that, I'd have to ask a whole lot of more questions, and it's not really the place to do that.
It's not right.
It's not the place to do that. But what is bringing you most peace? What is bringing you most joy?
Oh my God, Sabrina, are you watching this? My most peace comes from geriatrics. Live and breathe it. This and everything else that we do is, I would say, just me and Bagsby's afterlife, our after retirement. This doesn't feed us. I'm just.
So you putting a whole bunch of energy into something that don't feed you.
Oh, okay. See, cut. No, I'm kidding. So when we talk about finding that balance, how can couples support one another when it comes to mental health without him being the therapist or me being the therapist, but we're supporting one another?
That starts with learning how to be a listener, right? So men, I think, are natural fixers. Women have, and men can compartmentalize better. And so men take it all in, they start compartmentalizing it. Women, we just by our nature are kind of a little bit more emotional in terms of how we express ourselves. The balance is hard to find though, because both people, number one, have to be committed to the process. So if you say I'm creating a safe space, what does that look like? And so people have to have an open conversation. Oftentimes people are not having open conversations first. Like you got to lay the foundation for how you go do it.
No matter how it looks.
No matter how it looks, people need to be able to make informed decisions, well-informed decisions about what they're going to do, how they're going to move in relationships, things of that nature. And so if you say, I want this to be a safe space, what safety is for me may be different than what safety looks like for my husband. And so I have to say, when you say you want a safe space, what does that look like? Does that mean you just want me to sit? You don't want me to say nothing? Then, you have to let the other person say, what does a safe space look like for you? So what happens is we just start talking and we expect people to respond the same way we would respond. But that's not what happens. And so people need to have to first have a conversation about what is a safe space for you. The balance starts with understanding what is the safe space. And once you have come to that conclusion first, then it's like you got a pinky swear and say, okay, if we know this is what we are creating, this is how we're going to move in that moment. And you have to commit to doing that. And let your partner talk. You got to put on your big girl panties, you got to go in this big man drawers, and be understanding and be willing to hear whatever it is your partner is going to say.
Do you believe that Black men are given enough safe space? And do they give us enough safe space to be vulnerable without judgment?
I don't think that either partner, males or females, have enough safe spaces in the Black community.
I'm glad you said that. I'm so glad, because that's how I feel. I feel like we don't have that. I feel like they don't have it either. They don't have it as Black men, and we don't have it because no matter how integrated we may seem, there are still lines that show that it's not okay for us to have that flexibility to be vulnerable.
So vulnerable is a word that I have found some people cannot even say. And I'm not joking about it. We'll be in a session and I'll ask a person, what does it take for you? What does vulnerability look like for you? And they're like, and they are not playing, on the edge of their seat.
Can't say it.
Literally cannot say the word vulnerability. And that comes from, though, being hurt. So once you have been hurt, once you have been traumatized, once you have put yourself out there and not been treated well, it's like a protective measure. We all have an internal protective measure, and we do not want to be vulnerable once we have been. You touch the fire and get burned, you're not going back. And so being vulnerable is very, very hard. It takes work.
It is.
You got to take baby steps to get to a place where people really feel like they can be vulnerable with even their partner, the person you married to, right? That you should be able to trust, should be your best friend. That's a whole different story, because folks be marrying people that's not their friend.
We coming back. Don't forget you coming back. But
they like each other, but they're not friends. So then, anyway.
It is so strong, and that's so deep, though, seriously, that you said that, because vulnerability, that's me. If you burn me, it's one and done.
Right.
It's one, and I don't know if that's healthy. I don't know if it's good.
Sometimes it is. Sometimes
for me, it's my safe space.
Right.
I will give you whatever. I will go to the end of the world with you if I know we're there together. And that's friend, business, whatever. But if I feel like there has been an inch of disloyalty, right, it's dead. Right. When I say you can't even resurrect it, it's over with.
Right. And so, I think that's consistent for both men and women. But really to kind of focus on what men need, and I'm not a man, so I'm not talking for men, but I can say that what I hear more often than anything else is men say they just want somebody they can talk to because they don't feel like they are being heard. And so that communication piece is real, real big for men.
Let me ask you this. for the men that say that they want someone to talk to, and you have that spouse that is there, that is ready to listen, but there's something when you start talking, it's a disconnect. You automatically feel as though they're not listening. When they're there and they're present, how do you handle that when she really feels as though she's listening? For the younger generation, you're not listening to me, or even our generation, you're not listening. I'm trying to talk to you. You're not hearing what I'm saying. I'm sitting here, I hear everything, but my facial expression didn't look like you wanted it to look to get that I'm listening. How do you handle that? Because then the woman shuts down, or the man, vice versa.
So communication, there's books on communication, you know what I'm saying? So communication styles are important. And so lots of people think they're listening, and they're hearing though. They're not really listening, they're just hearing. And so listening and hearing are completely two different things. And so lots of times people feel like they are listening, but they're really only hearing. And if the person who's doing the talking, you can sense it, you know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
And so I think the issue of communication styles is big. And so lots of people may be trying, but they don't know how to communicate well. In teaching communication styles, and I send folks on with homework and practices and all types of stuff, people have to be taught how to communicate well. But that starts with first acknowledging we have a communication problem. And most people are not doing that. They're not taking the first step. Men aren't taking the first step to say, I don't know how to communicate well, I'm shut down, so on and so forth. And women also don't take the first step of saying, maybe I'm not a good listener. And so what that results in is just a disconnect overall.
What message would you give to a Black woman who feels overwhelmed, unheard, and emotionally exhausted, and the same for that Black man right now?
So my primary message to the Black woman is that you do not have to be strong all the time. And that it is okay to ask for help. It's okay to cry. Lots of Black women do not cry either, okay? We might explode and become hysterical at the end of the road, but just crying naturally, lots of Black women do not cry. And so we don't cry a lot. We do not ask for help. And we feel like we have to be strong. We have to carry the weight because we don't always trust anybody else to do it because we've been let down. So it's okay to cry. It's okay to ask for help. And you do not have to carry all the weight. That is what I would say first and foremost to most women. You don't have to carry it all by yourself. Ask for the help, look for the resources, figure out how to delegate. It's okay. You don't have to be perfect.
It's okay.
Okay? It's okay. You do not have to be perfect. Take the mask off.
That's what I wanted to, after you answer that for the Black men, I want to talk about those masks again. Same question, but for Black men.
I'm not confident that the stigma associated with mental health, which is stronger for Black men, I'm not confident in our society that that is ever going to go away. I do believe that people can find peace, and in order to do that, you have to seek the help that you need. I don't have one statement I would make to a Black man.
Okay.
I've seen improvement in that area. There are more Black therapists, more Black male therapists than there have ever been before. So I would also tell Black men, just like I said about Black women, you have to do your research. You have to seek out the services that you need. And I also think, slightly off topic but on topic, traditional male-female gender roles have also played a very large part. Men don't feel like they can ask for help because they have to be strong, they have to be the providers, they have to do it all. We as women look at them to be strong, be the provider, do everything by themselves, and they just view it as a sign of weakness. If I had to make one statement, it would be that seeking therapy does not make you weak, it makes you strong. Because in order to be the best man that you can be, you have to take care of yourself, mind, body, soul, spirit, and that includes your mental health.
I love it.
I didn't have a statement, but I had one. Okay.
I know, you did. I love it. That's amazing. So being here in the city, although you're not from here, you have your profession here, you've done a lot here, you instruct here. If you had to speak to that young man or that young woman today and say, you said something about find a church,
Absolutely.
find an outlet, or find a therapist, if you had to just think right now offhand, what church would you say?
Well, I would say mine.
Okay, which is?
I go the right way.
Okay, you would say right way. You would say right way. Okay, good. You would say that. And to speak to any of the therapists there, and you feel like they could be a good outlet for some of the youth today.
I think, every church is different.
Absolutely.
And so I think probably many of the churches in the city of Mobile have counselors and people who are prepared to provide services in that realm. Churches also have various different ministries within their church where you can, get services as well. And so I would definitely say that is an excellent place to start in terms of looking for services. And oftentimes within the churches, if they do not have someone specific, they can refer you out to someone else. They'll know somebody that knows somebody to make that recommendation for you. But that's definitely a great place to start.
For someone that, and you have to just be honest, for someone that has church trauma,
Yes.
then that's a real thing. For someone that just saying, I don't want to go in that space. I don't want, not that space, but just, I don't want to deal in that space for whatever reason. Can you give some help to someone? Where could you direct them to go?
So just to speak into that a little bit.
Okay.
I think just like the angry black woman term gets thrown around loosely, I also feel strongly that church hurt and church trauma is sometimes used very loosely.
It's definitely a whole different segment because it is. It really is.
It's used loosely. And so those are things that people really need to get clarity on. Is it the church that really hurt you? Is it one person? And does one person represent the entire church?
Absolutely.
Or is it all the other things we've been talking about in terms of communication styles, trauma and issues, hurt that you're bringing from other places and then it gets displaced on the church. So that's layered. Everything is like onion.
But that one's very layered because when you said that, that's so true, because you can have a bad incident or a situation at one hospital. You don't stop going to the hospital when you need it.
Absolutely.
You just choose a different hospital. You don't stop having surgery when you need it. You still go. You still go to that hospital when you need surgery. So I think church is like that, but that's a different segment alone. But I just wanted, because there are going to be some people that look at this segment here and they're going to say, okay, I don't deal with church. I don't want to do that. So she didn't really help me, or this podcast didn't do it. So just like you get on the phone and you Google where you can get this dress, where you can get Young Miami tickets, where you can get Break the Code tickets. You go on. You go on and you find your therapist. You find the outlets that you need.
So there's a website called Therapy for Black Girls.
Okay, say that. Look in the camera for that one. I love that.
Oh, so there's Therapy for Black Girls, and it's online. They can go to that website. You put in your city, your state, your zip code. It brings up all the therapists.
I love it. I didn't know that.
Yeah, it brings up all the therapists in your area, who are on the website, because I used to be on there. I'm not anymore.
Okay.
But you go onto that website, you put in where you are located, and it will tell you everybody within your state. It'll tell you if they only do in person, if they do telehealth. It tells you what type of insurances they provide, and so that's an excellent place to start.
It sure is.
Therapy for Black Girls, and there's lots of other.
What about
websites
for our black men? What about for them? Is it a site for them? Because this is their month, and I love what you said. It's not about a month. This is year round. This is every day.
I am pretty sure there is.
Okay.
But when we go to the internet and search out everything,
absolutely.
Use Google, it is your friend, or AI, whatever. Go to the internet, and I'm pretty sure I saw that there was a Therapy for Black Men.
Okay.
But lots of referrals for black men probably come through word of mouth more than anything else. Because once somebody finds a really good black male therapist, like I got one in my phone, he's not in the state, he's not in Mobile, I think he's in Huntsville or somewhere. But I listen to that. When people tell me I have had services and this is a black male, or I have people that call, they have teenage boys, they're looking for somebody for a teenager, that's a male, a black male, I try to keep those numbers so that if somebody calls, I can at least refer them out to somebody else. But oftentimes the internet for its good and its bad, is a great place to start looking for services. And then it may take you to another website. But I would definitely start with Therapy for Black Girls, Therapy for Black Men. You can also go to Psychology Today. When you put in those filters, it'll ask you age range, it'll ask you if you have a preference, male or female, it'll ask you if you have an insurance preference. You can search those things out.
I love it. This has been such a great segment with Raquel. I hope you guys got a lot of information about it. To our men, to our women with mental health, she will be back on the next episode, and we're talking to our young girls, the young ladies, because we're going to touch in on that again this month. But thank you for tuning in to the Elevation Edit.